right now, babies are being murdered up until birth. You've got children that are being sexually groomed and they are being castrated. Parents in California are being threatened to have their children taken away from them if they don't consent to the castrating. Parents and religious groups such as the Roman Catholic Church have been labeled as domestic extremists by their own government. I mean, we've just got we've got pastors and congregants that have been arrested for either opening their church during COVID or even just preaching the word in public to individuals who are sensitive to that. Most of which would be members of the LGBTQIA2 plus community. And the reality is the reason why I think No Enemies on the Right is so important is because I totally hear everything that you're saying, John, and that's where like I want to have this conversation as we can hash this out, because in my mind it's like, let's just get this conversation sorted so that we can then go out and, to Charles' point, defeat this regime that we're currently living under. I mean currently we are living under a religious state. It's a secular religious state, but it's a religious state nonetheless. And that being said, I think what's frustrating to me as someone who is a devout Christian, but not necessarily someone who I would consider myself to be a expert in theology, but I definitely probably know more theology than the average American. But again, that's not saying much of anything, But I see so many individuals within church leadership fighting over these issues that are tertiary. And not all of what we discussed tonight is tertiary. But my point is, right now, like to your point, John, you said that you wouldn't unify with Roman Catholics, and I would say I agree with that in regards to the church body. When I'm separating the church from political movements,
that's not happening. Yeah,
right, exactly. Because the reality is there are holes in their theology that some border on heresy, some are heresy, in my opinion. And so for that reason, I'm not going to want a Roman Catholic state, so to speak. But at the same time, would I prefer a Roman Catholic state to what we currently have? Yes. So am I willing to partner with Roman Catholics to defeat what we currently are living under? Yes. And would I like to eventually get to the point where currently the modern day left is defeated and we can get to a point where after that is all said and done, that battle is wrapped up, then if we want to hash things out with Roman Catholics and Eastern Orthodox or Presbyterians, Baptists, if we want to hash all that out 20 years from now after the left is a political ash heap of its former self, I'd love that. But we need to get to that point first, and that's where I really think that I think that it's important to separate the political from the church realm in terms of when we separate. And Charles, you've written in that piece that you referenced at the top of the episode, you talked about how the left wants us to do purity spirals. So can you maybe flesh that idea out?
Sure. One of the objections to No Enemies on the Right is, well, if we don't police kind of the extreme rightward boundary of the right wing, then people who are more moderate politically will be repelled because these people who are unsavory, the three actual white nationalists who live in the United States, let's say, these people will repel moderates and therefore will harm the project rather than help the project. And that's actually not true at all, because since the left controls the narrative, they can always define anything they want to be as unsavory. And if you, in fact, if the right wing purges these three white nationalists or whoever unsavory is, not only will the left then say, well, here's the new target of people who are totally unacceptable, thus, moving it all the way up until the only thing acceptable is left. They'll take the very fact that the right wing was willing to purge these people as admitting that the right wing is wholly unpalatable. And in fact, moderates will move to the left because the left controls the narrative. So any policing is necessarily self-defeating.